Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget, and today is May 21st, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This is training webinar week 11. Got some stuff I want to go over today. I got a new computer, so hopefully everything's coming through okay, guys. This is the first Hangout I've done since I installed the computer last night. So if you have any problems, let me know on the events page so I can get them taken care of. Let's see who's here yet so far. Chris G asked a question I'll answer, and then I'll get into the presentation slides for a few things I wanted to cover. And we'll talk about a local site build case study that I said I was going to do. Still kind of waiting until the new updates are completed to do that, but I've got some ideas in place for that. So we're going to cover that a little bit today, and then we're going to take Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them on the events page, and I will get to them as they are posted. Okay, go ahead and take the entire screen. All right, Chris G says, do you know if the ability to have separate H1 and title tags to limit possible over-optimization issues will be included in the update or possibly the near future? Don't know, Chris. That's a good question. It's something I could talk to Dawn about. Yeah, because when you set the page or the content title within the ATM, you're right. It makes it the SEO title and also the H1 title. And that's why typically when I'll start a build, I'll use an H2 or an H3 as the article opener, and it'll be a much more conversational type title, and it won't use the exact match keyword in it, because then you're hitting it in 3 spots. And that's also why I usually don't match an exact match keyword in the meta description either. Like I'll use an LSI instead, or a synonym, so that I'm not over optimizing that. As far as I know, I mean, I don't know if there's going to be an update for that or not. But that's something that we could bring to Don's attention and find out if that's something that we could, work in. He's the man that creates all the stuff, so I'd have to get with him on it. But noted. Okay, it's noted. All right. There's no other questions at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and just go into the presentation slides. Not much here. Just want to go through the domain extension case study again. Now today makes week 4. Since I set this up, we're going to walk through those. Not a whole lot of changes there. A little disappointed with the results with this particular case study. However, like I said, there was the same domains, just using other subdomains with targeting a different sub niche within that niche. I'm seeing better results. And so it could just be that particular niche that I built and the initial case study on is just not a very good niche for this type of site. Hey, and you win some and you lose some, guys. That's why it's important to just crank out a bunch of sites, because some are, throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. You know what I mean? Some's going to stick, some's not. And the ones that do stick, then you really drive home on those. So it's like the 80-20 principle, right? 20% of the stuff you do is going to produce 80% of the results. Well, then you need to focus in on that 20%. But you don't know what that 20% is unless you're putting out 100% work. You know what I mean? 100% effort. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the local site build case study. So just as a recap, and I do this every week, but we're going to continue to do this as these case studies go on. The domain extensions that I purchased, I used the same domain name, right? I bought the same domain, the same root, but with 8 different extensions. These are the different extensions, okay? Then I always build on subdomains. So I built 8 subdomains out, 1 subdomain on each domain, and it was the same letters or characters or whatever. So it was the same subdomain on all 8. I wanted to keep everything the same. I had a piece of content created, spun it, scraped images, put those in, YouTube videos, blah, 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 put all that stuff together. And the only thing that I did differently for each site, I used the same for everything, except I targeted a slight variation difference in the SEO content title, or the content title, which becomes the SEO title, and likewise the H1. So they were all targeting a specific sub niche, very narrow niche. And so the variations in titles were slight, okay, only because I didn't want to build the exact same site 8 times. I built very, very slight differences, but everything else was the exact same, tags, everything, okay? So this today makes week 4 of the case study. And again, I'm going to show this time what I did was I put last week's on the left and this week's on the right. Okay, so you're going to see that there's been very, very little change in these sites. over the past week. And again, I'm a bit discouraged with this particular sub niche, but again, I believe it's the niche and not the it has nothing to do with the site builds themselves, because the site builds are built just like the site builds I've been doing, and a lot of those are doing very, very well. Okay, so I'm kind of disappointed with this sub niche, but that's okay. It just means not to spend any much more effort on it. Move on to another one that is performing better. There's another sub niche within this same parent niche that is performing incredibly well, with a site that I put up about 2.5 months ago, about 10 weeks ago, and it's collecting almost 700 clicks a month now. So that's over 20 clicks a day. That's like it's doing really, really well. It's like almost 23 clicks per day, and it's in the same niche, but it's a different sub niche. And hopefully that makes sense. I'm not going to reveal that, but point is that it's just I think this one particular sub niche is not performing that well with these types of site builds. No big deal. Just find another one, right? All right. So this one you can see was the .website domain. We really had no change in indexing at all. None in the last week. We can see the clicks have gone up, which, that's a good sign. But we've had no change in indexing. All right. Here was the .info site. The .info site had a slight, very slight change in indexing. About 12 more pages were indexed. You can see that the clicks are up though, and that's, again, that's good. So a little bit of traffic to the site will also help with the index. So we'll see if that improves. I'm going to leave them up, and it's not like I'm going to take them down. And we're going to continue to monitor these over the next several weeks, because the first one that I did to even identify that I wanted to get into this niche was, like I said, I built about 10 weeks ago, and it really didn't start performing well until about the 5th or 6th week. And now 10 weeks later, a month later, since it started since it was fully indexed and then started to generate traffic, now, we went from, like a month ago, we were getting around 300 clicks per month. So roughly 10 per day. And now we're at almost 700 clicks per month, and it's the same site, and I haven't done anything else to it. So again, and that's 10 weeks in. So I'm assuming that some of these sites might end up doing better as time progresses too, as they age a little bit more, or season, as I like to call it. All right, let me pause for just a moment. I want to make sure you guys are all hearing me. Ganti, you're always really helpful. What's up, buddy? Let me know if you guys can hear me, if you have any trouble hearing me. In fact, let me just see if you guys are seeing me. And now we're at okay, it sounds like it's working all right. All right, well, just let me know if you guys have any issues, because, again, I'm on a brand new PC that I just set up last night, so. Anyways, so to move on, here was again, .info, not much change in indexing rate, but clicks are up. Next one was the .biz. This one's doing really poorly. The .biz, you can see that it hasn't changed in indexing at all, and the clicks are there's really no change in clicks either. One, which is probably me. So this one's doing very, very poorly. The .us, same thing. It's up over about 200 pages indexed. Clicks are up a little bit, not a big deal, And guys, remember, I'm not doing anything else to push these to index. I just turned the backlinks indexer plugin on, and that's it. So, if I wanted to, there's some things that I could do to try to get on the index faster, like grab a set of posts out of it and start, sending them through some social signals, things like that. Like I could buy some social signal gigs and things like that to push social signals to them, which should help them to index a little bit, but that wasn't the point. I was trying to avoid doing them and let them just kind of index more naturally so that we could see. And again, they're just not performing as well as I'd hoped. This one, same thing, .co, you can see one additional post, up 3 clicks, no big deal. The next one was .org. This one is up just a few posts. The clicks are up a little bit, okay. And the next one was .net. This one's up a little bit on the post, 67. Looks like about 67 more posts. But the clicks are up though, and that's again that's kind of a good sign. At least it's being found and getting clicks for some searches. All right, and again, and that should increase over time. More that will actually help it to index. So it's just going to take some time. What I always found was interesting with this setup so far is that the .in is performing the best, which is a top-level country domain for India. And I just assumed that this one performed poorly, and it's actually, that's why you never make assumptions. You just do it, right? Because this one's actually performing better than any of the others, and it's up a little bit. Clicks aren't up much, but the indexing's up a little bit. Not much. What, like, shoot, only 8 more pages indexed than last week. So you guys can see that so far we're still kind of crawling at a snail's pace with this, but that's okay. Not a big deal, guys. That's also why I know in the Facebook group, I've seen people, or maybe they PM to me, private message me or whatever, but I've heard people say, well, after we build a site, how long should we wait before we build another? Don't. Just build, right? Because you're going to run into situations like this where it's going to take, this is 4 weeks in today, and we're still seeing like kind of, not the greatest results yet. And again, I'm going to keep them up, and I imagine that they will start to perform better. It's just going to take more time, but why wait, right? If you're waiting around for things to index and to start performing, then you're wasting time and you're wasting money, right? So just keep building and keep building and keep building, because again, you're going to have other ones that are going to perform a hell of a lot better, a hell of a lot faster. And just to prove that, I think the next slide, I mentioned this last week for the first time, but the .org domain, so the same domain that's used in this case study, I just set up another subdomain and put up a targeting another sub niche within that parent niche. And this was last week, and this is this week, and you can see this is now week number 2. This is the second week that this site has been up. So it's the same domain, just different content. It's targeting a different sub niche, and you can see that this was week 1. This was after the first week, and this is now week 2, which is, I just took the screenshot this morning, and you can see that this one is performing a hell of a lot better in just 2 weeks time than any of the other ones that are that we just looked at, which are now on week 4. You see that big difference, right? And so this was just targeting a different sub niche within that niche. So my point is that, again, you're going to find winners and losers, and apparently, and I'm not ready to call these ones losers yet. They're just not performing like what I'm accustomed to seeing. Usually by now, within a month's time, I've got really good indexing rates. Even though I might not have traffic yet, I usually have really good indexing rates. These ones right here just are not, they're not there yet, but I'm not giving up on them. I'm not ready to say that they were losers. I'm just saying that they're not, they're slow to perform. Where this one, again, just a different sub niche on one of the same domains, the .org. This is the only, I've got, I think, 6 sites out of the 8 built, but I only had cleaned up 3 of them. I cleaned up another one last night and another one this morning. So I've got 5 of them cleaned up, and I'll start tracking those too, just so you guys can see the results. But you can see, like I said, this one's up over 2,000 posts in 7 days, and it's already got 6 clicks, which again, I don't really care about the clicks until we get to about 30 days anyways, but the indexing rate in 2 weeks is up to almost 16,000. So it's just a better sub niche, in my opinion, for these sites, or it at least is performing quicker. So hopefully that makes sense and you guys get that. Ganti says, how many keywords are you testing or searching for each of the subdomains? Do they rank differently for different keywords based on the extension? Well, that's what we're testing, Ganti. Like I said, there's a parent niche, right? And then there's sub niches. So they're more narrow focused niches within this, right? And so the domain extensions that I purchased, let's go back. Again, I set up the same content, and the only thing I'm with the first case study that we're doing now, okay, it's targeting the same sub niche, but it's targeting variations of that keyword. So to use like a I don't know, like a remodeling example, and that's let's say what we were doing, remodeling, right? Home remodeling. Then there could be kitchen remodeling, bathroom remodeling, basement remodeling. Those would be considered variations of the remodeling niche, right? So, or even sub niches for that matter. What I'm doing is I targeted all 8 for one of the sub niches, and the only thing I did was I changed the content title. Everything else is the same. So the content title, which you build out in the ATM, is just targeting variations of that keyword from my keyword research, right? So each one of them is targeting a slight variation difference, but it's all the same. So what I'm saying is the way that I target with the sites, guys, the way that I do it, is I build out the site with the main keywords that I want to rank for are sprinkled throughout the content, and they're also in the tags. I build them into the tags, and then I choose one focus keyword per site build. Okay, and that's what I put in as the content title, is that one focus keyword. All right, that's how I build sites. Now, I know everybody can build their sites differently. I'm just telling you how I've been doing it. I've had a lot of success with, and that's I find my set of keywords that I want to target for a batch of sites, and I use that same set of keywords within the content itself, so sprinkled throughout the page, and then also in the tags, along with additional longer tail keywords and things like that, supported keywords. But then I take one out of my main set of keywords to use as the SEO content title, and that's what I optimize the site for, just within the content title, so that site is focused on specifically one keyword plus city, plus area, for the entire site build. And that's how I've had a lot of success with these sites. And so that's why I said I like to build sites in batches now, because I'll take a list of keywords that I want to rank for, and I'll target each one as separate, as a separate keyword for each site. Although they're all together in the tags for each site. And what's interesting is it ends up, they end up ranking for multiple terms, but the target or the focus per site is one keyword. And I've just had really good success with it that way. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, Ganti. This is all within a sub niche. So they're targeting roughly the same keyword, just different variations of searches that people have done for that specific keyword based on the Power Suggest keyword Google Suggest keyword tool, right? And I've talked about that several times. So those are keywords that people are absolutely searching for because they're in the Suggest, they're in Google Suggest. So they were just variations of that. So like I said, with going forward, when I set up this one, because the first sub niche isn't performing all that well, I set up the second one. I started using the same domains, and I started targeting what I already knew was working well in my original test site, which is another sub niche within that that parent. And this one is performing really well in only 2 weeks. See what I'm saying? So hopefully that makes sense. All right. All right. So now let's go ahead and talk about the local site build case study. I know that's coming up as soon as the updates are available, which I know Don's working hard on them. So I'm not being impatient at all. I can wait. It's not a big deal. I'd rather wait. I know somebody in the Facebook group said, we want to know now. Well, I get that. So just start playing with builds. If you want to do it now, then start playing with builds, because I'm not going to do a case study and set up a bunch of training videos and then turn around and in another week have to redo all of them. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do it, because the interface is going to change and those other videos aren't going to be, I want to do them on the new interface so that I don't have to do them twice. So anyways, I'll be doing that as soon as the updates are available. So the local site build case study, I asked for you guys in the Facebook group to post some suggestions, and then I would select one or two of them out of the suggestions. Well, I selected one, which was foundation repair, and it was by, is it Jim Hare? I think it is. Yeah, Jim Hare. He said foundation repair. Well, that's right up my alley because it's contractor related. And that's typically what, most of my business, about 80% of my business is dealing with contractors. So foundation repair is perfect. It's not something that I've targeted in the past, but it's something that I could do well with monetizing after I've ranked the sites, because, I just deal with a lot of contractors. So I chose his to be the one that I selected from the list of suggestions, which there wasn't a whole lot of suggestions, but those of you that did chime in on that thread, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And so I'm going to select Jim Hare's foundation repair and build a site on that. And then I selected tree service, which is an industry that I do a lot of work in. I have not yet built an ATM site for tree service stuff, because I've been doing tree service work, generating leads for the tree service industry for over 4 years now, over 5 years now, actually, since 2010. So, that's an industry that I'm very, very familiar with, but I've not built a local type site with the ATM for the tree service industry yet. So I'm going to go ahead and build one out for that too, for purely selfish reasons, and also to provide you guys with training. So, but I'm doing it because I already have the, I already have the monetization methods in place. I've already got contractors, though. I can use that tree service site immediately to monetize it by selling leads to my existing client base or customer base. So I'm going to do those too. However, you'll see that the tree service site build in the next slide, I'm going to do that a slightly different. The foundation repair build, I'm going to do a, okay, so I'm going to select a state. It's probably going to be Virginia because that's where I live. Okay. I like working in familiar territory. So I'm probably going to do a statewide foundation repair build, site build for the state of Virginia. And in the custom list, the way I'm going to set it up is I'm going to set up counties, cities, zip codes, and keywords. Okay. And I should probably reverse this order because the counties is going to be my categories. Okay. So I'm going to have counties as the categories. I'll have cities as probably my first custom list. So counties will be custom list 2. Then I'm going to have zip codes number 3 and keywords. Now this is subject to change, guys. This is how I think I'm going to build it. But when I go to actually start building the site, if I come up with something different, I'll certainly document it and let you guys know. I'm going to do the full-on training video series for both of these site builds. So I'll document the whole thing. Okay. But I'm going to do cities and zip codes and keywords. So this will be the first time that I'll be using keywords as a custom list. So far, thus far, all I've done is built out these nationwide sites, and all the custom lists have been geographic based. They've been location based custom lists. So now this will be the first site build that I'm going to actually use keywords in the custom list. But that's how I can target multiple keywords within a local site build with one build. Again, like I just mentioned, which Ganti was asking about how I target. So far, all the sites that I've built have been nationwide site builds targeting one main keyword per site. And the only thing that was really different was the location information on every post, right? But this time I'm going to switch it up and I'm going to be targeting multiple keywords plus multiple locations at one time with the same site, with one site build. So I haven't done it yet. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to squeeze this together, but it's just a matter of setting up my custom list properly to be able to do this. And again, I'm going to document all of it, guys. So you'll probably see an evolution, a process as I start building the site on how I'm going to put it together. All right. Let's go back over and check on questions. "2 weeks are not going to make or break you. +1 that." Thanks, Bill. I appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, I agree. It's, if it's another week or two, get in the ATM and start playing around, right? Don't wait on me to do it. Just get in there and play around. Start trying your own stuff, So I appreciate that, Bill. That's absolutely right. It's not going to kill somebody to wait 2 weeks. Ganti says, "I understand the premise of this testing experiment. Let me ask the question in a different way. If you prepare an Excel table for all the keywords, main and LSI, and see how much traffic each of the keyword is bringing based on the Google Analytics or other analytic program you are using, anyway, trying to see the breakdown of the total traffic into categories based on the keywords as you already did the experiment, want to see the data from a different angle. Hope I am making sense." I think I understand what you're saying, Ganti. What I could do is in Webmaster Tools, it will show which keyword phrases came in on, like the clicks came in on, so I can sort by clicks is my point. And so that will show where traffic is coming in. And then what I could do is maybe set up a screen, a spreadsheet or something like that. Again, I'm not revealing this niche, guys. I'm just not going to do it, period. So don't ask because I'm not going to. It's nothing personal. It's just this is something I've got an agreement with somebody and I can't share it. Okay. So anyways, point is I might be able to show and then, show like how I can categorize data and stuff like that. I don't know how much help that's going to be, Ganti, though, specifically with this case study, just because if I can't reveal the keywords, I don't know how that's going to be helpful. However, like I said, I've got the local site builds that we're going to be doing, and I'm going to use the same process for tracking. So as we continue to progress through the current case studies, the local case studies, I'm going to use the same sort of tracking mechanism or methods, and then I'll, those I'm going to be revealing, obviously, because I'll be doing the the entire site builds, and I'm going to be recording all of that. So that's something that we could probably use and set up, Ganti, in a way that you're asking, if that makes sense. so that we can see how we, categorize data. Because again, guys, like I've said before, once I find out, the site's been seasoned well and it's starting to generate traffic, I use Google Webmaster Tools to tell me and show me which keywords people are finding the site on from, which a lot of the times aren't even the keywords that I targeted. Like, again, if I make it so far, all of my sites have been focused on one main keyword per site. There's a bunch of LSI variations that are worked into the content and into the tags, but I usually focus every site on one particular keyword. And what I find, though, is that using Google Webmaster Tools, I'm able to, and it doesn't have to be that, it can be whatever, but I'm able to find out that, hey, the site is ranking, generating traffic for this other keyword that I hadn't even thought of. And so then what I do is then I go build another site out targeting that keyword and rank that. And what's funny is then that site ends up start generating traffic for another keyword. So it's like it takes you down this rabbit hole and you just keep going, you keep chasing these keywords, but it works well because then you really start to generate a high traffic base, a nice stream of traffic. Pardon me for a second. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense, Ganti. I'll see if I can somehow make sense or organize the data that I have coming in from the current case study in a way that would be educational to you guys without revealing the niche. If I can't do it, then maybe we'll just, I'll try though. I'll attempt it and see what I can do. And if not, then we'll do that with the local case study. All right. So anyways, the foundation repair site-wide build, I'm going to set up my custom list a little bit differently than I have in the past. And we're going to try to target multiple keywords with the same site build, targeting multiple areas within the state. All right. And then once that's generating traffic, then we're going to, I'll continue the case study or the training on how I would end up going about monetizing that, okay, which would be, contacting foundation repair companies, blah, blah, blah. All right, like I said, I've got a lot of experience in this field, so I'll get it monetized, there's no question. All right, so then the tree service site build, it's going to be a regional site build. So instead of being statewide, and so again, I'm going back to the requests within the Facebook thread. There were some requests in here about how to set up a really local, like a DUI attorney in a certain city or broker for a specific city. Mary Rose, she ends up asking, how to set them up and drive traffic, and there was a couple other in here, like one city, perhaps with north, south, east, and west with multiple verticals, like a directory. Not sure how to pull that off. I'm not going to go after multiple verticals. I'm just not going to do it. I'd rather keep all sites specific around one vertical or one industry. But again, I'm going to go ahead and target one region in Virginia because, like I said, I've got tree service contractors already that purchase leads from me in a pretty wide region of Virginia. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and build out a site for that and it'll cover multiple counties. It's not going to be a whole statewide build because I don't have people all across the state. And so, I want to just make this specifically more of a regional site build. But I'm going to get really hyper local with those terms as well. And then I'm going to set them up. This pretty much the same way. It's counties, cities, zip codes, and keywords, but it's going to be a slightly different type of site build because it's not going to be a statewide build, right? It's going to be a little bit more focused on a smaller area, a more narrow area. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. I'm looking forward to doing these local site build case studies. I think it's going to be cool to get, some training done for that for you guys. Plus, I know I can make money off of them. So once I get them done, I can make some money off of them too, and that's always nice. Okay. Does anybody have any questions today? Because other than just a couple comments, it doesn't seem like there's much. If you guys have any questions, please post them. Okay. Ganti says, no, I'm not asking for keywords or niche, either directly or indirectly. You can always... let's see. Sorry, you can always give each main keyword and LSI keyword an assigned number so that the keyword data is same across the subdomains. The ultimate aim is to understand the database on the LSI keyword and then also look into the geodata to see if any single state is giving more traffic for a keyword or LSI keyword so that I can build a statewide site instead of a national site. Sorry for babbling. No worries, Ganti. That's fine. I was, certainly if I don't understand the question, I'm probably going to give you the wrong answer. So, yeah, I would suggest that. Hold on, let me go back. Yeah, I might be able to do that, but here's my point: is I understand you're saying that you want to build a statewide site maybe instead of a national site. If you identify perhaps through the data of a national site that, okay, look, this site is performing really well in this particular state. Like I've got a high percentage of my posts ranked in this state for whatever reason. Then yeah, it would make sense to want to target that more. But personally, my opinion is, and this is why I haven't been building local sites yet, is or to this point, was because if we can build a nationwide site in the same amount of time as it takes to build a statewide site or a city site, then why not target the whole damn country all at one time if it takes the same amount of time to build? You know what I'm saying? So my point is that to me, it seems like you're limiting yourself. You're wasting resources if you're just targeting locally, like specific local stuff. I mean, there's certainly reasons why you would want to do that, but personally, I haven't come to that point yet, because what I've been doing with the nationwide site builds, and I know I've talked about this many times, but I use the nationwide site builds to identify those pockets that I can rank for easily, like what you're talking about, Ganti. And then what I do is, instead of going and building a state-specific ATM site for that, then I go in and build a traditional site, or I set up, a video marketing campaign, which I do a ton of YouTube video marketing stuff. And because I've already identified those areas that are low-hanging fruit, like little to no competition, that I can go dominate for very easily. And so my point is, I don't want to waste a database. If you get a VPH 75, right, you get to build 75 sites on that particular VPH. And so why would I want to build a statewide or a citywide, a city site that's going to take up one of my databases when I can build a nationwide site? You know what I mean? Now, again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, guys. Do whatever floats your boat, do that. I'm just telling you what my personal strategy has been. And I feel like I'd rather build a big site and then go in and use that data to identify, and then go do more like traditional stuff in the meantime, and keep building more nationwide sites. So that said, though, Ganti, to answer your question, yeah, I could probably do that. I could at least separate the keywords and assign them a number or something like that, so that you could see a cross section. I mean, that's going to take a little bit of work setting all that up, but I'll see what I can do. I'm not promising you anything, again, only because on the local site builds, I'm going to track the data the same way, and then it's just going to be like a smaller. You know what I'm saying? We'll still end up having data that's similar. It's just going to be focused around one area instead of nationwide. But then again, we'll be able to identify the low-hanging fruit within that smaller area. So, you know what I'm saying? And then from there, what I would do, guys, and you'll see this in the local site build. I might even carry the site build on beyond the ATM stuff, guys, and just show you like other ways that you can use the data that these ATM sites return to go out and just freaking dominate for, by putting up a regular site or using Web 2.0s. At your disposal, Facebook, Twitter, Rebel Mouse, those kind of things, YouTube on how. So, when you identify the easy stuff, then you can end up blanketing the whole first page and just own it. And that's what I like to do, So we'll get into that a little bit more throughout the site build too, if that makes sense, guys. Like what I'm saying is once the local site builds, the ATM sites are done and they start generating traffic and we get to the monetization point, a lot of the times what I like to do is once I know that I've got pages that are posts that I can monetize or that I can use to drive leads, then I'll go in and I'll build out a Web 2.0 network, which, I teach IFTTT SEO, and I build these syndication networks. So what I'll do then is I'll build a syndication network specific to that area, and then I'll build out a regular WordPress site or a YouTube channel, and then I'll just start blanketing those areas for those keywords that I've ranked well with the ATM sites, and end up taking up 3, 4, 5, sometimes as many as 8 to 10 spots on page one with various properties: my ATM sites, YouTube videos, WordPress.com, Tumblr, Blogger, Rebel Mouse, Facebook pages, like all of that stuff will rank, right? And so if you end up taking up the whole freaking first page, Evernote, for God's sakes, Evernote, which is just like a notebook, basically an online notebook, you can rank those Evernote notebooks very easily. So like all of that ends up taking up like the whole first page for my keyword phrases, so that when I go to monetize it, it's a no-brainer. You contact somebody and say, hey, look, we got 8 to 10 listings on page one for your desired, your keyword in your area. Would you want those? And if somebody says, who's going to say no to that? So anyways, Bill says, any benefit to utilize longitude and latitude as part of your geo-targeting? Possibly I haven't tested that, Bill, to be honest with you, but possibly for mobile search, yes. without testing it though, I can't give you a definitive answer. I can tell you that zip codes help with mobile searches a lot. Okay. Because mobile searches are remember the mobile search data centers, like the mobile search that Google returns it's its own search engine. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of crossover between the desktop search and mobile search, but it is its own search engine, so it does return different results. Okay, and there's different data centers and stuff, and that's why when search results update, there's usually a delay between desktop updating and mobile updating because they're on different data centers, and it's kind of it's a bit of a different algorithm. So with mobile search, I've found that having zip codes available in your posts, even if it's just a mention of the zip code once within the post somewhere, it actually helps to show up in mobile search. If somebody's in that specific zip code, because remember, zip codes are very specific, right? And so if somebody's are searching with mobile search and you have zip codes, I found that to be effective for that. So I can only assume that latitude and longitude coordinates within the post would be helpful, but I don't know that for sure. And that would be a massive list because those are such, finite or such specific coordinates that I don't know how I would build that into the build, is my point. So it would be kind of a pain in the ass to do it. I think that would be too much, although it might be very, very effective. So Bill, I don't know, but that would be worth testing. If you set up that test, let us know. I'm not promising to do it, so just let me know what you find out. Or for that matter, even using street names for micro-targeting. That's a good question. That's a good question. Street names for that's something I never tested either. Again, that might be good for like a small city or a city site build or something like that. I wonder where you could collect a list of street names though. That'd be interesting. That would be worth testing too, like on a city site build, right? That would be worth testing because then you could still get a ton of pages or posts within the site build by targeting street names. That might not be a bad idea. That I could see where that would be hugely valuable for like realtors. You know what I mean? Because of people targeting for real estate agent, like whatever. If you use street names in that, I think that could be pretty valuable. Because remember, real estate agents, they like farm areas, like they have turf, right? They've got they turf out a city, right? So like, this is my area over here, says agent one. Agent two says this is these are my neighborhoods over here, that sort of thing. So I think that might be valuable for something like that. That would be an interesting test. Maybe that will be another case study down the road, Bill. That's interesting though. That's a pretty good idea. You're welcome, Ganty. He says, thanks for the answers. Bill says, for example, if live within 5 miles of Woodlawn Avenue in Pompano Beach, Florida, and you need foundation repair, then I like the if then statement. That's great because I'm so used to the IFTTT stuff. If this, then that, right? That's pretty cool. If within 5 miles, Florida, and you need foundation repair, then yeah, that's interesting. We can explore that, Bill, maybe after, like I said, after I get done with the 2 builds that I planned on, or maybe I'll consult with you and get some more ideas from you as I'm building that out. That might not be a bad idea to get somebody involved, one of you guys involved. So, Ganty says, I love Evernote and used to store a lot of data. Do you keep the Evernote that you are trying to rank public? Yes, you have to, Ganty, or it won't rank. It won't index unless it's public. Okay. So what I do is I set up and that's part of our IFTTT network. So it's automated like that. Again, this doesn't have to do with ATM and Lead Gadget, guys. So I want to clear that up. I'm just saying that I use Evernote to syndicate content to from a more traditional site build. You certainly don't want to set up a syndication network for a Lead Gadget site or an ATM build because if you got 30,000 posts, you're not going to syndicate those to Web 2s. You're going to get all your Web 2s shut down. It's just silly, so don't even attempt that. But what I'm saying is like after I've identified areas that I'm ranking for very well with ATM sites, then I build out a more traditional site, right? So just like a normal mom and pop local type site, right? And then use the blog to syndicate optimized posts to a little network of branded Web 2.0 and social media properties that are branded after whatever I make the website brand, right? So it's just like it's like an authority builder. And then when I syndicate optimized posts from my main blog to those, I'm usually able to rank several of those Web 2.0 and social media profiles on the same on page one of Google for the same terms. So, and Evernote happens to be one of the things that we use in the syndication network. You set a public notebook, and then every time you publish a post to your blog, it republishes it to Evernote via an RSS feed. And I found Evernote's rank, like Evernote public notebooks, they rank all the time. Like, it's crazy. And they're not set up for conversion. They're certainly not something that like typically converts a lead into a sale or a call or whatever that much. But they take up valuable real estate, right, on the first page of Google, right? If they push another competitor off page one, then it's doing its job, in my opinion. So that's why I just said I like Evernote, because it works very, very well. You can rank those with very little work. Okay. That's, again, guys, that's something completely different. I'm just telling you, like, maybe I'll share some of those strategies once we're done with the local site builds. I can show you guys, like, some of the additional things that I do afterwards, just to kind of like squeeze more money out of those areas that I know that I can do well in. It's just, to me, I don't like just having one spot on page one. I like having 5. You know what I mean? So Bill says the U.S. Post Office utilizes EDDM, every door direct mail, which has every street name. Very cool, Bill. So I'm assuming you can download databases or spreadsheets with lists. It's pretty cool. I have to look into that. That's not a bad idea. I would try on a very, very local site build first, like just one specific city, to see how well that works, because I'm sure that would be massive if you tried to go even statewide. Could you imagine how big your custom list would be with the amount of street names? So, or start with a small state anyways. So, all right, guys, if there's any other questions, we'll take them. I'm going to give you guys another minute or two to add additional questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up a little bit early. As I'm sure we all have important things to do today. So, by the way, if you guys have, any other suggestions, like what Bill like what Bill was saying, I'd be open to them. Just continue posting in that same thread. I would suggest just posting in the same thread in Facebook, just to keep it in one thread. One thing I don't like about Facebook is that it's so easy to get conversations lost when they get pushed down off the page. So, if you guys just look for the local site builder or whatever keyword, if you want to post anything else in there, I'd be happy to carry that on, or just use this event page. That would make more sense, right? Use this event page, bookmark it or something. Candy says, I came across your video channel siloing. Is the content in that product still current? I want to pick up that product. You talking about YouTube Silo Academy? Yeah, it's still current. That's like evergreen. I don't see that ever changing. It's just how to silo YouTube channels using playlists. If that's what you're talking about, Canty. Again, I don't want to make this a pitch fest for my other business. So, but that's YouTube Silo Academy. And yes, that's still current. Absolutely. It's only $7. So anyways. All right, guys. Well, it looks like there's nothing else coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And we will see you guys. Let's see. Thanks, Bradley. Everyone have a safe holiday weekend. Yeah, Bill, thanks for the suggestions, man. Seriously, I want to consider doing some of those. I think that would be interesting to try to put a test together for that. I don't know that I'll do that with the current site. Maybe I'll do it on another subdomain of one of these local site builds. You know what I mean? So, like, if we're going to do foundation repair, which is, I said I was going to do a statewide site build, and then tree service, which will be a regional site. But maybe I'll take one city and then do what you're talking about with, like, tree service, for example. And get with you on that, maybe. We can kind of figure that out together. I like trying to engage you guys as students, or members. In my other business, you'd be a student. But as members of Lead Gadget, it's like I like trying to engage with some of you guys and take on projects together, because I think it's more interactive that way. And plus, I think you guys have great suggestions a lot of the times that I would have never thought of. So maybe we'll do that, Bill. If you got the time, you and I can get on a hangout and we'll chat about it and see what we can come up with and test it. It'd be worth testing, Might end up being very productive. We'll see. So, all right, guys, thanks. Everybody have a really good weekend. We'll see you guys next week.